Welcome to Soz Talks Money, where all we talk is money. I'm your host, Adam Sosnick, and I'm here to help you build your wealth and to save that money. On today's episode, we're breaking down the 6 principles of wealth. Let's talk money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.
So there's a problem here in America. I love America. I'm all about capitalism. I'm all about everything USA, but there is a problem. And within the education system, here it is. We all go to school. We all take the same useless classes. Algebra, biology, chemistry, trigonometry. No money classes. What's up with that? No money classes. So I've set on a mission to simplify money and find out exactly what you need to know when it comes to money. And here's what I've uncovered. The key to money is understanding these 6 principles of wealth. So before we get going on these 6 principles of wealth, I'm going to ask you a question. If you were chilling with money, I'm talking chilling like a villain, what would you be doing with your free time? Answer that. Before I continue, think about what would you be doing if you were chilling with money? Do you have an answer? Does something pop into your head? Does some glaring answer come out? If not, you need to reassess what you're doing. So here's my point. Before you can figure out where you're going, you need to figure out where you want to end up. And the goal is to end up chilling with money. The goal is to end up chilling with money so you can win the money game. And that's right, money is a game. So step number 1 in these 6 principles of wealth is developing a game plan for your money. So what'd you think about? What came to mind? Was it some exotic island you want to travel to? Was it something that you're super passionate about spending your time? Was it a cause that you care about? What came to mind? So what we're going to do is we're going to get to chilling at the end, but I want you to keep that in mind of where you want to end up. So what we're going to do right now is develop a game plan to get you to where you want to end up. And in the money world, a budget is a game plan for your money. So now that you know where you want to end up, let's develop a game plan to get you there. So before we get started on really what's going on with your budget, let's just answer a simple question. What is a budget? A budget is pretty simple. I even have a piece of paper here to show you how simple a budget can be. Boom, piece of paper. Draw a line down the middle. On one side you have income, and on the other side you have expenses. This is it. One piece of paper, line down the middle. A budget, the definition of a budget is your income minus your expenses. Let's do a deep dive into what your budget looks like. Boom. You got income and you got expenses. So basically, I play sports. I don't know if you play sports, but basically here's how I would look at a budget and income and expenses. Income is offense. How much money are you making? How much money is coming through the door? How many points are you putting up on the board? Expenses is like defense. You want to limit the amount of points that are going out the door. You want to limit how much money you're spending every month. So here's the deal. A lot of people will tell you when budgeting, you got to cut out your little minor expenses and don't buy that latte and it's not worth spending $11 on Netflix. Here's the deal. I'm more concerned about your net worth, not your Netflix. Let me say that again. I'm concerned about your net worth, not your Netflix. So let's break that down. What's net worth? Net worth is the whole name of the game, y'all. If you don't know what net worth is, you are missing the point. So check it out. Net worth are your total assets minus your liabilities. So when you're doing a budget, it's very important to understand that it's all about your net worth. Why don't I care about your Netflix? Netflix is 10 bucks a month. Maybe it's 11, maybe it's 12, I don't know. They're raising their prices. But those are minor expenses. What I want you to focus on are your big 3 expenses. So what are your big 3 expenses? Everybody has the exact same big 3 expenses. Number 1 is your housing. Now, housing should not be more than 33% of your entire budget. 25 to 33 to be exact. Number 2, biggest expense, transportation. 10 to 20%. You should not exceed that at all. This is where I see a lot of people losing. Car payments, car insurance, just money going out the door. A lot of people losing that way. Number 3 is what I call F&B, food and beverage. Are you eating out? Are you bringing your lunch to work? Are you cooking at home? Are you drinking on the weekends? Are you buying bottles at clubs? This is F&B. You got to understand that this needs to be below 10% of your total income. So my friends, here's what, let me just back up a second here. Boom, boom, boom. Housing, transportation, food and beverage. Once you've done those 3, I've got good news for you. You're now 75% of the way done with your entire budget. Now from there, you can back up and figure out the minor expenses that may be weighing you down. Your cell phone bill, apps, Netflix, to be clear. But a lot of people will tell you to cut out your minor expenses. I want you to focus on your big 3 expenses. Now here, let's just back it up again. There's something in the budgeting world called the 50-30-20 rule. Now what does this mean? This is an overall overall concept for your budgeting, right? And here's what it is. 50% of your income should go to your needs, 30% should go to your wants, and 20% should go to saving and or paying off debt, which we're gonna cover in principle 2 and 3. So understand that there's a big picture name to this game, and understanding the 50-30-20 rule as an overall concept is important to understand. So let me wrap this all up and give you some key takeaways here. So I used to listen to hip hop back in the day. I still listen to hip hop. And there was a song that blew my mind and made me understand the money game when I was a teenager. And the song was from a group called Bone Thugs and Harmony. Do you remember that group? And they had a huge hit song, and the song went like this. Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. And I remember being a kid and being like, what goes down on the first of the month? Rent's due, mother sucker. So you understand that rent's due on the first of the month. So what I encourage you to do is understand on the first of the month is when you need to be doing your budget. Last takeaway with budgeting. And here's a big picture with budgeting. Again, a sports guy here. I gave you some offense and defense. Here's my analogy for you. Who is the greatest football player of our generation? You don't have to think long about that. Who is it? The GOAT, Tom Brady. Now here's what I respect about Tom Brady. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest. He might be the best looking, but what does he do before every single game is he has a game plan. Him and Bill Belichick, I know he's obviously on Tampa Bay these days, but him and Bill Belichick had a game plan for every single game. He didn't just show up and be like, all right, I guess we're gonna beat the Jets today. No, he knew exactly how he was going to beat the Jets. So what's the analogy for you? What's the metaphor here? You need to go into every single month at the first of the month, like our friends Bone Thugs and Harmony pointed out, and you need to have a budget for every single month. So that's it. A budget does not need to be that complicated. It can be as simple as a sheet of paper. You can use an app, you can use an Excel spreadsheet, but at the end of the day, it's this. Understand your income, understand your expenses, limit your big 3 expenses, and that is budgeting like Brady. So now that we've developed a game plan for your money, it's time to move on to principle number 2. So before you can win the money game, don't lose. And debt, my friends, debt is your money going backwards. Now, in my opinion, the worst 4-letter word in the world is debt. I don't give a mother. It's a piece of. No word in the world is worse than debt. Debt, as you can see in red, debt is what is known as losing the interest rate game. As we discussed, money's a game. Money's a game. You got to have a game plan for your money. Don't lose the interest rate game. Debt is your money going backwards. So the number one question I ask people that have debt, I ask them this question: what's the interest rate? And often they look at me like, what? I don't even know. I don't know the interest rate. How do you not know the interest rate? That is your money going backwards, and you're losing the interest rate game. So here, let's break this down. Understanding what a good interest rate it is, a bad interest rate game. We're going to break down the interest rate game. Okay, so debt is your money going backwards. We're going to discuss what winning the interest rate game looks like in soon enough. But understanding that in the interest rate game, there's what I call the C's of debt. All these bad words, 4-letter words, all these bad words start with the letter C. Let's break it down. You got credit cards, you got college loans, you got car loans, you got cash advances, you got cribs, aka mortgages, you got credit scores, you got consumer debt, and the big one, overall consumerism. So let's take a deep dive into these 4-letter words and see how bad they really are. All right, credit cards. Average credit card balance in America today, $5,700. Do you have credit card debt? Do you understand the interest rate that you're paying? Average college loan right now, $35,000 student loans. Average car payment in America right now, $400 to $500. $500 for a new car, $400 we'll round up for a used car. Do you understand that these car payments are killing you? Cash advances, the average rate on the low end, 23%. You might get a payday loan that the interest rate is 400 to 500%. Cash advances, payday loans, killing you. Cribs, people call them mortgages. Sometimes you get into a mortgage, you don't even understand how bad the debt is and how bad you're drowning. Cribs, the average amount mortgage debt that is owed, $200,000. Average credit score in America right now, credit score is 700. That's a good credit score. Let me tell you, none of this is good. Average amount of consumer debt in America, this is the average American, has $137,000 of consumer debt. So add this all up, boom, 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 boom. Consumerism is killing you. The name of the game is becoming a saver and an investor so you can become what? Chillin'. And we're gonna get you to chillin', but understand that you need to develop a payoff plan to get out of debt. Now, when it comes to debt, you got 2 options for a payoff plan. You got what is known as the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. Pick a plan. I don't care which one you go with, but you got to pick a plan. Now, what is the debt snowball? The debt snowball, just picture a snowball. You work from your smallest debt, you work your way up to your medium-sized debt, and then you tackle your largest debt last. So it's the amount of debt that you go from smallest first, to your middle debt, to your largest debt last. Okay, now what is the debt avalanche? Debt avalanche is saying, hey man, I'm getting killed on the interest rate game. So rather than start with the smallest, I'm gonna start with the largest, highest interest rate that I'm paying. So as an example, if you're paying 400% on a cash advance, get that out of your life, homie. So those are your two different payoff plans. You got a debt snowball, and you got a debt avalanche. But again, to recap this, before you can win the money game, don't lose, and debt is your money going backwards. Now it's time to win. And what I always tell people is you need to save that money. Saving is the key to wealth. Now, how did I discover this? It seems pretty obvious, but when I first started this show, Saz Talks Money, what I did is I didn't have all the answers, so I went to every single financial advisor, every single financial professional I dealt with, and I interviewed them. We could probably roll the tape on how many people I've interviewed, and I asked them one question. I said, what's your biggest piece of advice for millennials when it comes to money?
Number one, save to invest, right?
90% of the time they said, hey, they need to be saving that money. So I said, okay, I get it. You need to save that money. And then what did I do after that? I started interviewing all the young people in America, 20 and 30 somethings, and I was going to concerts and festivals and all sorts of fun places where young people hang out, and I asked them one question as well. I said, would you rather A or B, spend that money? And what do you think the most common response was? 80% of the time people say, yo, spend that money, live it up, who gives a crap? Do your thing, YOLO, spend that money. You're going in the wrong direction if you have a spend that money mentality. The key to wealth is saving, and you need to have a SAVER'S mentality. Now, why do you need to have a SAVER'S mentality? What's so important about saving? Well, it gives you a cushion. Unless life is perfect for you and nothing ever happens, things happen in your life. Things happen in your life where you need a cushion to get you out of it. So these terms are interchangeable. A cushion, a rainy day fund, an emergency fund. These are all terms that you should be familiar with, and this is money that you need to last you 6 to 12 months, God forbid something happens. Okay, right now we're in the middle of Corona. I can tell you straight up, if you did not save that money, ooh-wee, you got another thing coming. So here's what I'll tell you. Cash is king. That has never been more clear than today. Let me read you a couple different stats, and then I'm gonna give you a piece of advice. So stats on this side. This is what I call the not so fun stats. 75% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Let me say that again. 75% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and I actually just saw a stat today that it's actually 78% now. So I gotta update that stat. Number two, 60% don't have $1,000 to their name. What? 60% of Americans don't have $1,000 to their name. 40% don't have $400 to cover an emergency. 25% have no savings at all. And here's the kicker, y'all. Here's the kicker. This will go back to the debt part. 90% of Americans buy things they can't afford, okay? Let me say that again. 90% of Americans buy things they can't afford. So here's my advice to you. Before you try to win the money game, before you're ready to move on to investing, before you're really trying to live your best life, you need to save $10,000. Now, some of you might say, $10,000, that's no big deal. I could do that in 1 year, cool. And some of you might be saying, man, I don't even have $1,000 to my name. And there's the rub, my friends. It's not easy to save this kind of money. But if it was easy, everyone would do it. So my advice to you is save $10,000. There's two ways to have more money. There's only two ways to have more money. You can either make more or you can spend less. Let me say that again. You can either make more or spend less. And here's what the wealthy do. You ready for this secret? They do both. They make more and they spend less. It's not that complicated. There's no secret to this. Biggest piece of advice, live on less than you make. You make $50,000 a year, live on 48 of it. Save $2,000. If you can't live on less than you make, you're never gonna get ahead, you're never gonna save, and you're never gonna get to principle number 4. So now that we've saved that money, it's time to move on to principle number 4, which is investing. Now you're ready to invest that money. Here's the key difference between saving and investing. Saving is short term. This is money you're gonna need in the next year or two. Investing is long term. This is long term growth. Now, what is investing? So investing actually is pretty simple. There's only 2 parts to investing that you need to understand. Time and compound interest. Time and compound interest is what investing is all about. So compound interest, if you're not familiar with this, this is the 8th wonder of the world. This is winning the interest rate game. Compound interest is your money, making money, on money, making money, on money, making money. It's the exact opposite of your money going backwards. So just to understand how lethal debt is, backing up a little bit, compound interest can either work for you in investing or work against you with debt. So if I'm telling you the key to investing and getting wealthy is utilizing compound interest, that's what's working against you when you have debt. So understand the interest rate game here. This is red, this is green. This is where you want to be. So understanding that compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world, you want that on your side. That's your amigo, that's your compadre. You don't want that against you. You don't want him fighting against you. How do you win the interest rate game? Well, it's not that complicated. We talked about time and compound interest. Let's talk about time. Long-term strategy. There's something called buy and hold. Delayed gratification. Good things take time. There's no get-rich-quick scheme over here. Anyone who tells you they got some brilliant idea where you can get rich in the next 6 to 12 months, run the other way, y'all. Investing takes time and compound interest. So understand that when you're investing, you want your assets to appreciate, right? You don't want depreciation, which is kind of like debt. Depreciating, right? You buy a car, it's worth 20 grand today. How much is that car worth in 5 years? Way less than $20,000, probably closer to $5,000. Now think about it, if you buy a mutual fund when it comes to investing, if you're not familiar with mutual funds, we'll do a deep dive in another episode about it, just what investing is. But if you're not familiar with that, a mutual fund, you buy it today, you look at it in 5 years, it's gone up significantly. So understand the difference between appreciation and depreciation. So I'll ask you a personal question. Would you rather be appreciated or depreciated? Would you rather someone come up to you and say, hey man, you're looking good, hey, pretty fit, all right, yeah, but looking good, buddy, hey honey, you lost some weight? It's appreciation. Or man, you look like crap, man, you ain't shit, man. That's depreciation. Same thing with investing. Being appreciated, debt, depreciation. Know the difference. So now let's get into the technical side of investing. In my opinion, you got 3 options and then a 4th option, which we'll cover as well. Option number 1, you got the stock market. And if you're gonna invest in the stock market, I got a perfect place for you to start. At work, you probably got a 401k plan. If you don't know about that, you should look into it, especially if it has what is called a match. Match is free money. Now, if you don't have a 401k plan at work, you can go to your bank, you can go to an online bank, and you can look into something called a Roth IRA. So those are your 2 options. If you're like, dude, what's the point? Where are we going with this? You can look into a 401k or a Roth IRA. Check those 2 things out. That's where you can begin investing. Component number 2, if you're like, look, I'm not really a stock market kind of person. I don't get it. I don't really understand it. I'm more of a real estate type of person. That's cool too. That's a separate thing. But there's a difference between taking out a mortgage, debt, and hoping that your real estate appreciates. That's a big difference between investing in real estate properties and income and cash flow type properties. It's a big difference. So understand that when you're investing in real estate, it's not as simple as, yeah, I bought real estate and I'm making money. Ask anyone in real estate. It's not that easy. Okay. Option number 3, and this could be the biggest payoff if you know what you're doing, is starting a business, becoming an entrepreneur, investing in yourself, taking a risk. Big payoff, but it ain't easy. Ask any entrepreneur out there. They'll tell you that it's a 24/7 job. It ain't easy. Here's the 4th. I want you to listen closely now. I don't care if you pick stock market, real estate, starting a business. You can do all 3 if you want to diversify. But the one thing you have to do, the one thing that you can't afford to not do, is invest in yourself. That means this. I want you to get smarter. I want you to get sharper. I want you to get sexier. I want you to get quicker. Everything that you want to become is investing in yourself. Now, the key component with that is investing your time wisely. The biggest change in my life was understand the difference between spending time and investing time. I used to spend a lot of time BSing in South Beach. And it wasn't until I understood the difference between investing my time wisely that I understood, okay, I'm investing in myself now. And that, as Warren Buffett says, is the best investment you can ever make. But here's the best analogy that I can give you with investing. It's just like planting a tree. If you're gonna plant the seeds and give it some water and give it some sunlight, it's gonna take time to grow. But if you're looking at it every single day, why isn't my tree growing? And then you pick up the tree and you plant it someplace else and then you move it to another city and hopefully that it's sunnier there. It's just, that's not how it works. Plant the seeds, give it water, invest your time wisely, watch the tree grow, and in no time, you'll be chilling, the tree over your head, chilling in the shade. All right, so now we're on to principle number 5, which is insure. And insurance is simply protection. So let me ask you a question before we get really into the insurance stuff. What is your biggest asset? I'm asking you, what is your biggest asset? Is it your house? Is it your car? Is it your computer? Is it your phone? Is it your boat? What's your biggest asset? If you did not say yourself, then you missed the answer here. You are your biggest asset. Your ability to work, earn a living, paychecks, income, your ability to make money is your biggest asset. Insurance, protection, health is wealth. You are your biggest asset. health is wealth. Let's stop right there. What happens if you get sick? What happens if, God forbid, something even worse happens to you? What happens to your family? So let's break down what I call the real big three. Number one, your health. Do you have health insurance? Number two, life insurance. If you have a family, if you got kids, what happens if you don't make it home tonight? Do you have life insurance? Pretty intense question right there. But God forbid, have you ever asked yourself that? What happens if you don't make it home tonight? Tell me who's someone who's lived forever. Nobody. So one of these days, we're all gonna meet our demise. What's gonna happen if you meet yours and you have no insurance in place to protect your family? Number three, disability insurance. You're way more likely to get hurt, disabled, not able to work than to die, thank goodness. But what happens if now you're alive, home in bed, and you can't do anything? Break your back, you have cancer, you fall off a ladder. I have a friend of mine who went wakeboarding. He was an electrician, went wakeboarding, used to love wakeboarding on the weekends. Rope gets ripped off, rope gets tied around his hand gets ripped off. What? Dude was an electrician, now he's got one hand. He's alive, but he can't work. You ever seen a one-handed electrician? Doesn't work that way. So this is the real big three. I know so many people that got car insurance and renter's insurance, but they got no health insurance. They got no life insurance. They got no disability insurance. So let me just back up because I'm getting a little tense here now, but sometimes you gotta be to drive a point home. The number one cause of bankruptcy in America, the number one cause is medical bills. That's the number one cause. You get sick, you get injured, you go to the hospital, you got no insurance, can't pay your bills. It's an ugly situation. So understand that the most important thing you can do is take care of your health. Health is wealth. And why do you need to do that? Why do you need to do that? Because you know what happens? Shit happens. Straight up. People drive around with bumper stickers back in the day. Shit happens. So understand that things happen in your life you have no control over. I was dating a girl for a long time. I thought we'd get married. Boom, 24 years old, cancer. What? Thank God she had health insurance. So I've seen it firsthand that if you don't have insurance, the ramifications and the bankruptcy that can happen in your life. So principle number 5, health is wealth, and make sure that you are insured. Now we're on to principle number 6, which is chillin'. We're back where we started at the beginning. You remember when I asked you at the very beginning of this segment, what would you do with your free time if you were chillin'? If you had millions in the bank, I asked you, what would you do if you were chillin'? What did you say? Do you remember? Did you write it down? Where are you at? Chillin' is when you own your time. You do what you want. This is also known as financial freedom. What this was also known as back in the day was retirement. Now, retirement is an antiquated term. We can go on a whole conversation about why retirement does not really exist anymore. Okay, the concept of sitting at a beach in a rocking chair and waiting to die does not exist. Anybody who's made it in life doesn't just do nothing. People stay doing something. So I ask people all the time, if you were chilling, what would you do with your free time? You wanna know what the 3 most common responses are? Number 1, people wanna travel. They wanna see the world. Hell yeah. We all wanna do that. Number 2, they wanna pursue a passion. Something that they love, they would do for free. Whether that's art, whether that's photography, whether that's stand-up comedy, whether that's any single thing that you're passionate about. You would love to do that if you had more time. Number 3, people wanna give back. People wanna donate their time to causes that they care about. Totally understand that. So those are the 3 most common responses. And why are you doing all this? What is the whole point of all this? Budgeting and getting out of debt and saving and investing. Why are you doing all this? It's to hopefully leave a legacy. Something that's bigger than you. To create something that's bigger than yourself. The great people I know, and I ask them, so here's my final take. I would interview all these millionaires and billionaires and these hedge funds execs and just people who just completely crushed it. And I said, listen guys, after you've made the money, you invested the money and you've killed it, like what's next? What's next? And they all said legacy. They said legacy planning, planning for generations. So right now you might be struggling, you might have no money. Right now you might be living paycheck to paycheck like 75% of America, but if you don't have a game plan for your money and you don't know where you want to end up, you're missing the boat. So hopefully these 6 principles resonated with you. Hopefully you got something from this, because the goal is to be chilling with money, not so you can sit there and do nothing, it's so you can do as much of this as you want to do. So the key to all this is, you might have guessed it, save that money. So that was the 6 principles of wealth. Let me give you a quick recap. A budget is a game plan for your money. Debt is your money going backwards. Saving is the key to wealth. Investing is growing your money over time. Insurance is protecting your biggest asset, which is you. And chillin', which is the name of the game, is when you can own your time. Now, if you haven't seen my first video about stimulus checks and the CARES Act, make sure to check it out right here. So thanks for watching, and if you've not subscribed to Valuetainment Money, please click below right there. And as always, save that money.
All we talk is money.